The special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic, Neil.
I'm excited about our guests because I don't know what we're going to discover. So our guest today is Tosh Robert Plumlee. Thanks for stopping by, author of multiple books and an amazing story. So I'm going to let Greg just jump to the questions right off the bat.
Hey, Tosh, thanks so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to getting
Thanks
some
for, thanks for having
amazing responses. It's great to see. I love the background too.
you. Like
Um,
that?
yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
nice.
okay.
So
Yeah.
Tosh, your book describes operating in the shadows between intelligence agencies, anti-Castro groups, and organized crime. What is the single event from your career that convinced you the public fundamentally understands how covert operations actually work?
Well, it just happened. Um, the book started out about a young guy, me, who run away from home, joined the Texas National Guard at Dallas, Texas, 49th Army Division when I was 14 years old. I learned how to drive a Sherman tank, and then I used that to jump into the regular Army at 15, 16. And then because of a hand grenade incident at Fort Bliss, Texas, where I was stationed at that time, that tied me in with some recruiters that was looking for special ops to put a special ops team together in those days. And I got involved with CIA at that point. They trained me at White Rock Aviation to get my pilot's license in 56. And I started flying guns and ammunition to Fidel Castro in 57, 58, and 59. And flew out of Miami, Florida with Riddle Airlines, Mountain States Aviation, and Intermountain Aviation. These all later, through hearings, some decades later, turned out to be CIA front companies. So we were flying guns and ammunition at that point to a little unknown rebel by the name of, I call him Castro, but Fidel Castro in the mountains, the Sierra Madre Mountains. So we were flying National Guard arms to Fidel Castro supporting the M26-7. That was his revolution. And then at the same time, because of the Pan American Treaty, we were also supplying guns and ammunition to the dictator of Cuba, Batista. And so we're sort of playing both sides against the middle. One of them covertly, the other one legally. And so I started to write a book. First book was going to be known as The Black Knights of Cuba. That was a crew of 55 of us that was involved in operation, which later became known as the Cuban Project. And that was run out of an operation Miami, Florida through JM Wave. And that was a very hush-hush type operation that involved a lot of Cubans and Alpha 66 and MiG 7 and that particular group during the Cold War. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your
No,
question.
I love the question.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And I couldn't imagine to know that you're playing both sides of the fence. Do you think this is happening in Iran right now?
In my opinion, hasn't changed. It's just been modified. I have a saying that we use an operation. The operation is successful, and we put the operation back on the shelf. Another situation comes along. We have a way of getting involved in these conflicts. We escalate the conflict, and then we sell arms and ammunition to both sides of the conflict, and a percentage of those sales are kicked back through campaign contributions into our political system. That's what I say.
Wow.
So, Robert, do you believe the culture of secrecy inside intelligence operations ultimately protected the country, or do you feel it damaged American democracy more than the
We
public
used to use
realizes?
we used to use a term in those days called infiltration. Agency, let's just say in those years, nobody really knew what the CIA was. It had been formed in 57 by Truman, and we're talking in my era of the 50s. So the original mandate of the CIA was good. Most of these guys were old OSS guys that came back from Germany. Some of it was known as paperclip. We brought a lot of their technology, a lot of their training back. We brought a lot of their PSYOPs operations back from Germany. We implemented those programs in this country, psychological programs, psychological warfare, MK Ultra, MK Delta. Started working with the mind known as mind control. I'm talking about a particular area between the 50s and the 60s, where we would actually try to create what we called super warriors. A warrior that could think that he was invincible. He could do anything. You couldn't touch him. You couldn't kill him. Now that's what the Nazis had in the Blitzkrieg and also in their Luftwaffe. They would be up for 48 straight hours on pills and drugs. And so we tried to duplicate that project and bring in the OSS guys. All of our cadres, all of our trainers were OSS from World War II. So that was the type of program that we were being trained for. That was carried out at a place called Illusionary Warfare Training Program at Nags Head, North Carolina. And it was summation on the short stroke was known as brain warfare and psychological warfare.
So is there ability to really use your mind to control, kind of like in Stranger Things? Or am I asking a crazy question?
No, you're asking a very, okay, here's how it worked in our case. Okay, Nags Head, North Carolina. We were young guys. We'd all be gathered around a table. There'd be a glass with half full of water and a spoon with a sugar cube. And it would be balanced on this glass. And we would sit there for 5 minutes and we'd stare at that glass and we'd say, I'm going to make that fall. I'm going to make that spoon fall. I'm going to make that sugar cube fall in the water. And by golly, after a period of time, damn thing fell in the water. And we used to think, hold on, I meant to turn this off.
We don't hear it. Don't worry, Tosh. Keep going.
We used to think that that was we had power, well, psychological warfare, which we felt that we could do that. We made that thing fall because we were sitting concentrating. Another situation, we saw a guy. We was having a few drinks there at the casino at Nags Head. And the guy was sitting on the bar and he says, you know, they gave me $25 for me to walk down the beach. And when I saw a little flashlight from a mirror, I'm supposed to turn left and walk out into the water. He said, I don't know what the hell all that means. Well, at the time, we would be up on the other side and we would be staring on the beach, watching this guy walk along the beach. And we'd be using our mind, say, I'm going to make him turn left. I'm going to make him turn left. And by golly, he turned left. And we thought, wow, we had the power of our mind to make that guy do what we wanted him to do. That's what we believed. It's manipulation. So that's illusionary warfare. That's a program that was going on. We were trained at that point in time. The first thing that we would do when we go into a major city, whether it be Cuba or wherever it might be, the first thing you do is you capture the radio station. The object that we were trained to do is that if you can communicate, if you can control the communications that go out to the people, you can control the thinking and the actions of the people. And that was psychological warfare. That's what the programs were about. That's what MK Ultra was about, except they started using LSD and mind-altering drugs. In those years, prior to the Bay of Pigs, that's what we were trained to do. That's what one of our military units was doing. Frank Olson, I don't know if I'm dropping some crazy stuff here perhaps, but Frank Olson was trained in that, and allegedly he was either pushed or jumped out of a building. They said he lost his mind. He'd been psychologically programmed. He'd been hit with LSD, and they say he went crazy and jumped out of a window. Other people say he was pushed out of a window because he was getting ready to talk about what I'm talking to you about right now.
Wow.
Gotcha. So,
Does it
quick
make
two-part
sense?
question for you. As a good follow-up for this. So what motivated you to finally put this story into a book now? And what part of it was hardest for you to tell publicly?
Well, there's okay. when they started coming out with their hearings, I testified 4 times. I testified at the church committee in 1976 twice, and then I testified under closed door on other things about operations that we were involved with. I didn't do that for any other reason that there's an old saying, the best medicine for an open wound is sunshine. Let the sunshine touch that wound and it'll heal itself. That's an old Indian, not trick, it's an old Indian remedy. Let the sun heal it. In my case, there was a lot of things going on, and I'll go back to infiltration. We were seeing that our groups were being influenced by political maneuvering in order to make us do certain things that would benefit the political side. And that usually the political side was involved with money, campaign contributions, private companies, shell corporations, cutout companies. So we started seeing this infiltrate into our groups, infiltration, corruption. So it wasn't any patriotic thing that caused me to come forward. It's to protect my butt, uh, because there was a lot of guys that were taking the fall for what a lot of politicians were doing. For instance, I don't mean to brown nowhere essence of time here, so I'll try to speed it up.
No,
But
this is just fascinating. I'm fascinated by this, so keep going.
in essence of time, we got a current situation on this Epstein thing that's going on. I was told I turned this off. Anyway, and we had a similar situation. In 1976, I made a statement to the church committee. They asked me who my handler was, and I said, well, it was Mark Gilbert. Oh, well, hell, there's no Mark Gilbert. Well, they called him Mr. Big, and I'll say it's Jay Howard. Oh, I don't know Jay Howard. I mean, Plumlee made up that story. Letterhead memo, big FBI. No, nobody in CIA by the name of Gilbert or Mark. Well, just recently, Joe Nanitis was released that he was, in fact, that was his code names. That was released to them in 1976. During that testimony, I had made a statement to the committee where I said one of the biggest problems we had in those days was getting our politicians out of the whorehouses in Havana and the casinos in Havana and getting them on board our airplanes, sobered up, and getting them back to Washington, D.C. undetected. That was the biggest problem. Now, I said that to the Senate in 1976. What was going on then? Some of these guys were bringing back girls, underage girls, on our aircraft. And we were not only getting the politicians back into the United States, we were getting these little girls with them back in the United States. Now, what was happening at that time, which I didn't know and we didn't know, but later found out, that these little girls were being farmed out to a gentleman's club known as the Corn Club. And that was run by Bobby Baker. It was a gentleman's club in Washington, D.C., and it was a speakeasy. The booze that we supplied it with came on our aircraft from Havana, Matusalem rum, other liquor, and women. And they had a house of prostitution down the street there in Washington, D.C., and it was known as the Gentleman's Club. And you had to be recommended by one of our politicians to be a member of that club. Now, at that time in 1976, it didn't mean a hell of a lot because in those days, our government could do no wrong. I mean, boy, by me talking about the government would do something like that, you're crazy. You're nuts. We're going to put you in a loony bin. You're saying our government was running a house of prostitution for their own people out Washington, D.C., and you're bringing young girls, 15, 16, 17, back from Havana that are orphans on the street, and our politicians are picking them up, and you're bringing them back on a cutout company airplane, maybe Mountain States, maybe Riddle Airlines, maybe whatever the cutout company was, run by CIA. Am I talking out of school now?
This is good. This is great. Keep
Yeah.
going. This is great
So,
stuff.
so the point I'm making here is even today, currently, we have this Epstein deal, and we have the Epstein files, and we have many files that they don't want released. My question is, why won't they release the 17,000 pages of my files that's in the Pentagon? Why, why won't they release the Epstein files? Because in doing that, we would be exposing the legacies of some of these politicians that was bringing these young girls back in the 60s, 1960, 61, 62, before Kennedy was killed, back into the Quorum Club that Bobby Baker had set up. Now, your listeners can go now, it doesn't take 30 days with a number 2 pencil. You can get on the internet and plug in these names I just dropped to you, and you can read all about it. Bobby Baker, Quorum Club, prostitution. He did 18 months. Who all was involved? So it was a special gentleman's club. Gentleman's club. That's what they called it. So that is no different than what Epstein set up. He patterned his operation out of the same setup for the Quorum Club that Bobby Baker had set up in the 60s.
Huh. Do you think Elaine Maxwell taught him about that? Because she was an educator with, thinking about her father and how she was big about studying specific things
Well,
in
I mean,
history.
we could go into 1,000 theories, and and they would be conspiracy. We could talk about the pot, but who knows? But the point is, it was a system, and the system worked because it generated a lot of money. Sex and drugs makes money. Money makes campaign contributions. Uh, that's the reason that these files won't be released, because we'll find out that a percentage of all this illegal money through prostitution and drugs and booze went into somebody's campaign contributions.
Oh my
If you
gosh.
take 2 or 3% of a couple of $100 million, your campaign contributions has a pretty nice coffer to go in to run in the next election.
So,
So
Greg, I'm going to offer if you have any more questions, you want to ask your last question, but you could see that we could have an interesting conversation with him over drinks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But I don't know what you my little question is, are you afraid that someone's going to kill you, Tosh, or something for
no,
bringing out
no,
this
I'm not.
information?
No, I mean, hell, okay, take your best shot. I mean, hell, I've been in this stuff for a long time, and I go back to what I said. Sunshine is the best medicine that I have to protect me. Even after this program, what I've just said here, which I've been warned not to say because it is classified, some of it is classified. Why is it classified after all these years? I mean, why is these pages still classified committee sensitive, top secret, NOR4, SAP, Special Access Program? Why is, and then let me ask you this, why is the FBI so sensitive to make sure that this information does not go public? Because if it goes public, it shows that they were in compliance, involved with the killing of a sitting president in the 1960s.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
there's your
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
Now, let
Which
me
is which is
go.
the one question I wanted to ask you. Doing a little bit of research, you've maintained for decades elements connected to intelligence circles knew of the threat against President Kennedy, but failed to stop it. After all these years, what evidence or experience do you feel has the greatest confidence about that?
Well, what I feel about that is that these documents, Epstein's, as well as the Luna investigation, which is currently going on, which exposed George Jonidas as being legitimate from the 1976s and so on like that, and that there were special ops, and they were converted in to be used in the political arena, which shouldn't be. It was military intelligence, but whatever. Um, these operations caused our system to malfunction to where we are today. I mean, where are we today?
Mm.
I mean, I
Wow.
don't know if I'm answering any of this question, but as far as killing me, if they kill me now, all it's going to do is open up more pages.
Mm.
So I'm
Yeah.
saying, okay, if you want to take a pop shot at me or okay, here's my other deal. The reasons we have all these lone wolf assassins is because we breed lone wolves. Now, back to psychological programs that we were trained to do. When you spew out poison to the media, you're going to get poison back.
Hmm.
That's where we are today.
Wow.
So some idiot out there, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, that doesn't have much respect for himself, let alone respect for our society, honestly feels programmed to do a lone wolf assassin. Now, I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but the rhetoric that we spew out from our leadership affects our society. And what we're getting now is hate, genocide, destroy, murder, maim, kill. Are we surprised that we're breeding lone wolves that'll go out here and shoot them up? Used to that we could reason with our neighbor, but now our neighbor just pull out a gun and blow us away,
Wow.
or vice versa.
All right. So Greg has his final question, unless you have one more, Greg.
No,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Go,
That was
go,
great.
we go with your final question.
Great. Tosh, thanks so much. This is awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you. Tell me, what do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
After all this,
All this, yeah.
keep my effing mouth shut. It's been a long road. I'm 88 years old and I'm looking back, in the rearview mirror, as one of my favorite author friend said once. Looking back, have I learned anything? Yeah, I've learned a lot. I should have walked away many years ago. But I've seen our country, and I've seen our country decay. I can remember the day when a man dropped the American flag on the floor, some Marine would kick his butt, just because he dropped the American flag on the floor. I remember the day when people would stop in the middle of the street and get out of their car, put their hand over their heart as the American flag was being raised. And little kids were gathered around that flagpole when that flag was going up, and they would pledge American allegiance. And people would actually stop on the street and get out of their car and pay homage to the flag that was being raised. That was in 1944, 45, 46, and 47. Where are we today?
Wow.
Well, great point. Best place you can pick this book up on Amazon. Or your website, right? Do you have a website, Tosh, for people to pick it
No,
up?
I don't have, I don't have a website. Anyway, Deep Cover Shallow Graves, you can pick it up at Amazon. You can pick it up Trendy. Um, Ralph Pezzullo, this is a co-writer. In other words, we haven't said his
Yeah, we've
name.
had Ralph on the show.
Okay,
Before.
Ralph is my co-writer. Uh, anything go wrong, I'll push him under the bus. So it's his fault. Anyway, but anyway, I appreciate you guys having us on. And I say us because the book Deep Cover Shallow Graves has some of the stuff that we just talked about in it. What we've done a little breadcrumbs, and we have a saying, let the lion loose and he will defend himself. So that's what this book is about. The book is there, the information is therein. It's up to the reader to read it, study it, and come to their own conclusions.
Okay, fantastic. That was the special simulcast Neil Haley Show and Celebrity Interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Guys, take care.